we are celebrating a terrible anniversary tomorrow, the anniversary of Kristallnacht in 1938. Kristallnacht occurred 5 years into Hitler's reign, which occurred 10 years after Hitler's real appearance in German culture in 1923. The Nazis take power in 1933. They immediately begin putting into law restrictions on Jewish life. The professors are kicked out of the university. Books are burning by May. You have the Reich citizenship laws are passed in 1935, where Jews can no longer be considered citizens, have no protections under the state, have no ability to work in professional services, whether it be university professor or a teacher. And then there is the assassination of a fairly minor Nazi Party official in Paris, and the German pogrom begins. And there's exactly one paper in America that captures it correctly. It's a Los Angeles Tribune, and it says, Jews will be annihilated in Germany. Democracies are their only hope. What are we watching in the world, in this country, with the explosion of anti-Semitism, within living memory of Schindler's List, within living memory of Elie Wiesel addressing indifference at the dawn of a new millennium at the White House, within the lifetimes of the survivors of the camps, where across America, whether it might be in Florida or California or anywhere in between, there are old men and women with tattoos on their arms. We were supposed to never forget what has gone wrong, what has happened.
You know, it's a curious coincidence in German history that November 9th, the anniversary of the Kristallnacht, was also the day in 1918 when the first German Republic was proclaimed, or when the German Weimar Republic was proclaimed. And it was the day in 1989 when the Berlin Wall opened and German democracy and unity were restored. The Germans call November 9th the Day of Fate. And it's a reminder that everything is about choices, because this day, which is also one of the most terrible in German history, is also one of the most inspiring in German history. And there are other coincidences around the November 9th date as well. So as we see these terrible events in the United States and other countries, I think we need to be mindful that history is about choices, that it's always, at any given moment, you can choose one path or another path, and that it's always possible to make your November 9th the day that you remember for the powerful and positive things in history, and not the terrible and destructive ones. I think that just reminds us that history is in our hands. It's not something that happens necessarily to us. It's something that we do.
Isn't it time you opt out of restrictive health insurance plans and let Crowd Health help fit your healthcare needs? Get started today for just $50 per month. Use code WARNING to get the healthcare you deserve. Crowd Health is not insurance. Learn more at joincrowdhealth.com. That's joincrowdhealth.com. Code WARNING. I look back on that day, November 9th, 10th, 1989, as an astounding moment. At age 19. In an instant, the world changed utterly, completely. The Soviet Union was gone. We grew up in an era and in a culture where Patrick Swayze was a guerrilla commander in Colorado, leading the fight back against the Cuban and Russian invasion. We had the Rambo culture of the 1980s, where Sylvester Stallone is going back to Vietnam to get our POWs out, and suddenly it's all at an end.
Yeah.
The war ends, and it begins this decade of optimism that I'm now old enough at 53, when I talk to younger people from a generation ago, it's hard to explain that sense of American optimism at the turn of the millennium. This Pax Americana. How do you contextualize that moment 25 years on?
I tell a story from my own life. I'm a little older than you. My wife and I were married in 1988. We didn't take much of a honeymoon at the time. So 2 years later, we were both journalists. After the coming down to the wall, we took an extended leave from our jobs and traveled through the newly liberated countries of Central Europe. We didn't go to Russia, but we were in almost all of the other countries that had become free in 1989. And what I remember most vividly was taking a night train across a border. If I remember right, it was from Poland into what was then Czechoslovakia. And we crossed in the middle of the night. And my wife and I booked an old-fashioned sleeping compartment. The trains were all from before World War II. And in the middle of the night, we suddenly heard on the door, bang, 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 like from a movie. Bang, 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 bang. So I opened the door and presented my passport, my new wife's, and to the official, who was wearing this suit, or this uniform made out of some polystyrene fabric with little paper epaulets, and he had a leather box with a stamp slung around his neck. I presented our two passports and said, "Here we are." And he said, "Your wife must present herself." I said, "Oh, for goodness sakes, it's the middle of the night, and she's not dressed. Just here, I can open the door a crack, but here." He said, "Your wife must present herself." And then he began getting very official. And I just said to him, I presented my business card for my paper. I said, "Those days are over." And he looked suddenly completely deflated, because he knew it too. Those days were over. Those days are back. He was right and I was wrong. Those days are back.